Flight attendant mocked. A black CEO's luggage that night the airline lost its contract. Hello everyone, before we begin today's video, I need your help. We've noticed that the channel is losing traction and subscribing is one of the best ways you can help us. It's quick, free, and allows us to continue bringing you great content. Your support means everything. Let's keep this channel growing collectively. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now let's get back to the story. Know your place. Her voice sliced through the cabin like a slap wrapped in silk. Every head turned. A flight attendant in navy heels had just kicked open a black carry-on, spilling papers, shirts, and a tablet across the aisle of first class. In seat 3, Ampere's, a black woman in a white suit sat perfectly still, composed, unreadable. Phones lifted. The hush in the cabin turned electric. The plane hadn't even left the gate, but the damage had already taken off. Karen, the attendant, sneered. "You think this is designer? This mess belongs in coach." Someone in row 4 whispered, "Are you filming this?" Another chuckled, "Guess they'll let anyone up here now." The woman didn't flinch. Her name Dr. Amara Lewis, 38. No diamond watch, no entourage, just calm eyes and authority she didn't need to announce. She spoke evenly. "Please, don't touch my work." Karen laughed. "Work? Sure. Next time print your fake resume on heavier paper." A folded document slid beneath a seat, the embossed seal of Airline Group glinting under the cabin light. A nearby passenger bent to grab it, then hesitated, sensing it was something real. The seatbelt sign chimed. No one moved. 3 rows of witnesses. One unspoken truth. This wasn't about luggage anymore. Amara exhaled, once measured, deliberate. She looked down at the scattered papers, then back at Karen. "You just made a mistake you can't pack away." Karen crossed her arms. "You threatening me?" Amara's voice stayed calm. "No, I'm reminding you." From the cockpit doorway, the first officer glanced over, sensing the tension. The air felt thick, charged, alive. "Before we continue, where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. And if you believe in dignity and justice, hit like and subscribe. These stories spark change, and we're glad you're here. Now, back to Amara. Karen crouched to tidy up, but her hands trembled. The Airline logo on those crumpled files was small but unmistakable. A man across the aisle whispered, "Wait, I've heard that name before." He wasn't wrong, because before this night ended, that name Amara Lewis would cost this airline everything it thought it owned. And it all started with one careless kick. When the flight finally pushed back from the gate, the tension didn't move with it. It sat there heavy and visible between row 3 and the galley door. Dr. Amara Lewis adjusted her blazer not to fix herself but to regain silence. The papers had been gathered, the humiliation swept away, but the echo remained. She'd seen this dance before. Different uniforms, same choreography. 2 days earlier, she had flown coach on another Horizon Air route unannounced, just to watch how her company's potential partners treated people who didn't look first class. Tonight was the final test. No press, no assistants, no title. Just her, a simple white suit, and a single carry-on that now carried a story. Across the aisle, Karen leaned toward another attendant, whispering, "People like that always play victim." The words reached Amara's ears, sharp and familiar. She didn't turn. Instead, she looked out the window, the reflection of runway lights sliding across her face like passing memories. At 26, she had been denied a promotion at a firm she built half of. The reason, not the image we want leading the board. At 32, a client mistook her for an assistant in her own meeting. And now at 38, on a plane, she was about to own a share of someone still believed she didn't belong. Brad, the male attendant, walked by and forced a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Everything okay, ma'am?" Amara's gaze met his. Calm, measured. "Everything's perfect," she said. "You just showed me what I needed to see." He frowned, unsure whether it was praise or warning. In row 4, a young man, Marcus, 22, kept recording under his jacket. He wasn't chasing views. He was chasing proof. His whisper caught on the mic. "This woman's not ordinary." The engines hummed louder. Cabin lights dimmed to amber. And in that glow, Amara reached for her tablet, swiped open a secure file, Horizon Partnership Evaluation, Phase 3. A soft notification blinked in the corner. Live incident logged. Somewhere on the ground, a system had already started listening. She closed the screen, leaned back, eyes half shut. Her silence wasn't defeat, it was calibration. Because while everyone else thought the flight was routine for her, it had become evidence. Brad whispered to Karen, "She's weirdly calm." Karen smirked. "That's what guilt looks like." Amara almost smiled. If only they knew. That night, 30,000 feet above the Atlantic horizon air still believed it was flying high. But inside seat 3 Ampere's Justice had just taken off. 30 minutes into the flight, calm had become choreography. Coffee poured trays, clinked, and yet the air still carried that quiet charge, the kind that follows a storm that hasn't finished. Karen hadn't let it go. Her smile to other passengers was painted on thin as the napkins she handed out. But every time she walked past seat 3 Ampere's, her tone shifted, her footsteps sharper. Amara noticed. Of course she did. She had built empires from reading boardrooms without words. This was no different. When Karen returned with the drink cart, she paused at Amara's row. "Can I offer you something?" she asked, sugar-coated but laced with venom. Amara looked up. "Still water, please." Karen poured sparkling instead. "Oops." She leaned closer. "Next time you might want to check your class of service before ordering." Across the aisle, Marcus's eyes narrowed. His phone camera stayed low, half hidden under a blanket. He caught every word. Brad, trying to play peacemaker, rolled the cart forward. "Karen, I'll handle it." But Karen didn't move. "She's been difficult since boarding," she said, loudly enough for nearby passengers to hear. Heads turned again. Amara folded her hand. "Would you like to explain what makes me difficult?" Karen's smile flickered. "Your attitude. You didn't even thank me." Amara's tone stayed even. "I will, when you earn it." A soft gasp from row 2. Someone whispered, "She's holding her own." Karen's cheeks flushed. She grabbed the phone from her pocket and muttered into it, "Captain, I need a service manager to verify a passenger's ID. Possible false booking." The words hit the cabin like cold water. Brad froze. "Karen, what are you doing, protocol?" she snapped. "We can't have unauthorized guests in premium class." Amara tilted her head. "You're escalating this," Karen smirked. "Just doing my job." But Amara didn't argue. She simply tapped her tablet awake and whispered, "Rachel mark timestamp 2231. Initiate phase 1. A soft voice through her earpiece replied, "Logged and verified. Compliance notified." No one else heard. Not yet. A nearby passenger, a middle-aged woman with a British accent, finally spoke up. "She's done nothing wrong. You're humiliating her." Karen spun toward her. "Ma'am, please stay out of this." But the woman didn't. "I won't. Because I've seen this before." For the first time, Karen's mask cracked. Amara turned to the woman and nodded softly. "Thank you." The engines droned on, steady and indifferent, but everyone in the cabin felt it the shift. Authority no longer belonged to the uniforms. It was gathering quietly in seat 3 Ampere's. By the time the service manager arrived, the flight attendants thought they were in control. They had no idea the system was already watching them. And Amara was about to make sure they never forgot what bias costs at 30,000 feet. The aisle fell quiet again. Not peace pressure, the kind that makes even breathing feel like rebellion. Karen stood near the galley, arms crossed, watching Amara like a hawk that had lost its prey but refused to admit it. Brad whispered, "Let it go." She hissed back, "Not until she learns." In seat 3 Ampere's, Amara didn't flinch. She sat centered, composed, a still point in a cabin now divided by invisible lines. Her reflection shimmered in the window, the Atlantic stretching endlessly beyond, calm on the surface, deep with currents beneath. The service manager appeared, Elena Foster, mid-40 seconds, crisp uniform, practiced smile. "What seems to be the issue here?" she asked softly. Karen's tone flipped from venom to virtue. "Passenger in 3 Ampere's may be traveling under a false identity. She's refused to comply with standard verification." Elena turned to Amara. "Ma'am, may I see your boarding pass again?" Amara handed it over without a word. Her hands steady, her eyes unmoving. Elena scanned the QR code. Green light. Valid. She hesitated. "It's perfectly fine, Karen." Karen frowned. "That can't be right." "It is," Elena said quietly. "Now, please, let's keep the cabin comfortable." Karen's jaw tightened. Comfortable for who? The question hung in the air. Passengers started whispering fragments of disbelief and disgust. A man in 2C muttered, "Every time, same story." A woman nearby whispered to her teenage daughter, "Remember this." Amara reached down, gathered her papers again. Her movements were slow, deliberate, every fold of a page, a quiet refusal to bend. She didn't speak. She didn't need to. The silence was speaking for her. Then from 3 rows back, a soft electronic sound, a phone recording. Marcus, the young passenger from earlier, had raised his camera again. Not high, just enough. The red dot blinked against the dimmed cabin lights like a heartbeat, Elena noticed. "Sir, please." but Amara's voice cut through gently. Let him. Some truths need witnesses. Karen scoffed. Oh, so now you want attention? Amara looked up calm as stone. No, I want accountability. The words rippled through the rows. Karen froze, her practiced authority cracking for the first time. From the front cabin, the captain's intercom broke the silence. Cabin crew, please prepare for meal service. Routine words. But everyone knew nothing was routine anymore. Amara leaned back, eyes half closed. Her mind wasn't on the argument, it was on the data stream now, syncing quietly through her tablet to Arian's compliance servers. Every insult, every phrase, every timestamp recorded, logged irrefutable. Her stillness wasn't surrender. It was precision. By the time the plane crossed into international airspace, Amara hadn't raised her voice once. But the entire crew had started lowering theirs. Because silence when it belongs to the powerful isn't weakness. It's the sound of consequence loading. It started small, one raised phone, one whisper too loud, and then it spread. The hush that had blanketed the cabin began to crack. Marcus's recording light glowed steady red, a single pin of truth in the dark. Across the aisle, a woman in a gray blazer leaned forward, her voice low but firm. She gave you her pass. You just didn't like who handed it to you. Karen spun. Ma'am, please mind your own. The woman didn't. No, I'm done minding my own. A man 2 rows back joined in. We all saw it. She's been nothing but calm. His wife touched his arm, whispering. Record this too. The phones multiplied 1, then 3, then 6. Little red dots flickering like constellations across first class. The crew tried to smile through it, but their faces betrayed the fracture. Elena, the service manager, spoke softly to Karen. You've made your point. Let it go, Karen snapped. You don't understand. People like her always. She caught herself too late. The words hung like smoke. Even the engines seemed to hum quieter after that. Amara lifted her gaze, calm, unshaken, her voice low but clear enough for the row to hear. Finish the sentence. Karen blinked. What? People like me? You were about to explain what that means. No one moved. Even the baby in 1D stopped fussing as if the plane itself was listening. Brad, still standing near the galley, whispered to Elena, this is getting bad. Elena exhaled, it's already there. The woman in gray stood fully now. You owe her an apology. Karen forced a laugh. You don't know who you're defending. The woman smiled. Maybe I don't, but I know what I'm not blind. Marcus turned his camera toward her, whispering to the mic. This is what courage looks like at 30,000 feet. His clip would hit 10,000 views before the wheels even touched London. Amara leaned back again, quiet the way a conductor listens to the final notes of a symphony she already wrote. Her tablet screen pulsed once a message from Rachel. Phase 2 confirmed. Media monitoring active. She closed it slowly. No reaction. Just that same serenity that unnerved everyone who'd misjudged her. Elena looked at her and whispered, Ma'am, are you okay? Amara met her eyes. I'm fine. But your airline isn't. The sentence landed like gravity, soft but undeniable. A beat of silence. Then the whispers started again, this time from the back. Someone said, isn't Airline, that investment firm, another Wait Lewis like the Lewis? The cameras turned back to Amara, but she didn't flinch. For the first time, Karen looked uncertain. Because the woman she tried to humiliate wasn't a passenger anymore, she was the storm coming for them. By the time the plane crossed the Atlantic ridge, the calm was gone. Order had become theater, and everyone was watching for the next line. Elena disappeared toward the cockpit for barely a minute. When she returned, the captain was right behind her. Captain Douglas Pierce, gray uniform, silver stripes, the kind of voice that expected silence when it spoke. Ladies and gentlemen, he began, addressing the cabin. I understand there's been a misunderstanding, but his eyes weren't on the passengers. They were fixed on Amara. Karen straightened her shoulders, relief flickering across her face. Captain, this passenger, Douglas raised a hand. I'll handle it. He crouched slightly beside seat 3 amperes. Ma'am, I need to confirm your identification and ticket information. For everyone's security. His tone was polite, but the subtext was law. Amara turned, voice steady. I already provided that. Twice. He nodded once. Then please do it again for the record. The cabin held its breath. Phones were up again, pretending to rest on tray tables, but very much recording. Amara handed over her boarding pass and ID her movements, deliberate, her expression unreadable. Douglas examined them, brows furrowed. Dr. Lewis, he said, slowly. What's your destination in London? Corporate review, she answered simply. Karen folded her arms, probably for another fake resume. Douglas shot her a look sharp as a blade. That'll be enough, Miss Harris. He turned back to Amara, but before he could speak, the woman in gray interrupted. Captain, we've all seen how she's been treated. If you're asking again just because of he cut her off. Ma'am, I'm resolving this by procedure. The word procedure hit like a verdict. Amara leaned slightly forward. And what happens when procedure becomes prejudice? The captain froze for a beat. The question wasn't loud, but it traveled through the cabin like thunder under velvet. Marcus's camera caught it perfectly. Elena shifted uncomfortably. She'd flown with Douglas for years, but she'd never seen him hesitate. Now he did. I assure you, Dr. Lewis, he said quietly, we treat every passenger equally. Amara's eyes softened, not with mercy, but with truth. No, you treat everyone the same. Equality isn't equity. There's a difference. Karen exhaled, frustrated. Oh, here we go, Elena whispered sharply. Stop talking. The engines hummed louder, a mechanical heartbeat under human discomfort. Passengers stared, some ashamed, some enthralled. Every second stretched thinner, every glance sharper. Douglas finally stood. All right, everyone, let's de-escalate. We'll complete this discussion after landing. But Amara wasn't finished. She tapped her tablet, once screen glowing faint blue. Rachel, she murmured, Phase 3. A voice replied through her earpiece crisp. Active. Internal Compliance Board notified. Audio sync confirmed. She set the tablet down gently like a weapon she didn't need to hold. Karen crossed her arms tighter, whispering, She thinks she's special. Amara didn't look up. No, I think you're recorded. A beat. Karen's smirk vanished, and the cameras still rolling caught it all. 10 minutes later, the seatbelt light flicked on again, this time not for turbulence but control. The captain had returned to the cockpit, and in his absence, silence turned brittle. Karen stood near the galley, whispering to Brad, her voice a sharp thread. She's not who she says she is. I swear it. Brad shifted uneasy. Karen, drop it. We're all ready. But she was gone before he could finish marching down the aisle with purpose dressed as duty. Amara watched her come. The cabin lights dimmed slightly, a theater cue for what everyone knew was coming. Ma'am, Karen said, planting herself in the aisle beside 3 amperes for security reasons. I'm going to need you to hand over your bag and electronic devices until we can verify your credentials. Her tone was syrup on steel. A hush fell over the rows. Amara blinked once. You want to confiscate my property mid-flight, Karen crossed her arms. If you have nothing to hide, it shouldn't be a problem. Elena stepped forward. Karen, that's not policy. It is when a passenger's acting suspicious, Karen shot back. Her voice carried through the cabin. Suspicious. The word landed exactly where she wanted it to. Passengers exchanged looks. Someone whispered, this is going too far. Another muttered, she's crazy. Amara's face didn't change. She reached for her carry-on, slowly, deliberately unzipped it and held it open. Be my guest. Karen hesitated, thrown off by the calm. Then she reached in, pulling out Amara's tablet, then her passport, then the black folder marked Aryan Group. What's this? She demanded. Amara's voice was quiet. Evidence. Karen flipped the folder open. A dozen signed partnership drafts, each bearing Horizon Air's logo. Her stomach dropped. Brad whispered. Karen put it back. But Karen doubled down. This is forged, she said loudly, waving the papers for the cabin to see. Fake documents. Before she could finish, Elena snatched them gently from her hands. Her eyes skimmed the page and she froze. The signatures were real. The letterhead was real. The name Dr. Amara Lewis, Aryan Group CEO, stared back at her in silver ink. Karen, she breathed. Stop. Karen's hand trembled. No, she can't be. Amara stood slowly. For the first time all flight she was taller than her accuser. Do you understand what you've just done? Karen stepped back. I was following protocol. No, Amara said evenly. You were following prejudice. Her words dropped like lead. Phones rose again. Karen reached for the intercom, panic creeping in. Security, this is flight 7-1. Elena grabbed her wrist. Enough, the cabin erupted. Passengers shouting, filming, whispering Amara's name like a question they suddenly recognized. Wait, Lewis, the investor. Oh my God, that's her. Karen froze mid-motion, eyes wide. Amara's expression never wavered. Call whoever you need, she said calmly. But when they answer, tell them exactly who you tried to humiliate. And somewhere deep in the fuselage, a corporate server received a signal from 3 amperes, time-stamped, encrypted, permanent. Justice had just gone live. For a heartbeat, no one moved. Karen's hand hovered midair, the intercom light blinking red, waiting for her next mistake. Amara broke the silence first, not with anger, but precision. She sat back down, reached for her tablet, and spoke softly into the mic near her collar. Rachel, initiate Protocol 9. Confirm visual sync. A calm voice replied through her earpiece, crisp as glass. Protocol 9 confirmed. Cabin feed integrated. Compliance dashboard active. You're live across corporate security. Brad heard the faint sound, his brow furrowed. What did she just say? Karen swallowed, trying to recover. Probably bluffing. But then the overhead speaker crackled, faint but real, the kind of echo that shouldn't exist on an airplane. Dr. Lewis, the voice of Rachel Monroe, Airline Group's chief operations officer, came through clear and unshaken. Are you safe? Half the cabin froze. Elena's eyes darted from Amara to the intercom. Did that come through the flight system? Amara's voice remained measured. I am, but Horizon Air isn't. Karen stumbled backward. What's happening? Amara finally looked up at her. Your internal communications were routed through Arian's evaluation servers tonight. Every word, every action recorded for review. This was never just a flight, Miss Harris. It was an audit. Marcus whispered into his camera, oh my God, she's not bluffing. The chat on his live stream exploded. Hearts, disbelief, cheers. The captain's voice came through the PA again, strained now. Cabin crew, please report to the flight deck immediately. But Amara raised a hand slightly. No need. I've already contacted your board liaison. Rachel's voice over the feed was steady, commanding. Dr. Lewis, all evidence has been mirrored to our legal division. Horizon executives have been alerted. Would you like to proceed with termination protocol? Karen's lips parted, panic flickering through her bravado. Termination? What termination? Amara folded her hands, eyes steady on her. The one that decides whether your airline keeps its biggest investor. Gasps rolled through the rows like waves. Even Elena, who'd tried to protect everyone's dignity, couldn't hide her awe. Karen stammered. You can't just— I can, Amara interrupted gently. Because when your behavior endangers a brand I own part of, it's not customer service anymore. It's liability. The captain appeared at the aisle entrance, his authority unraveling by the second. Dr. Lewis, he said carefully, let's keep this contained until we land. Amara turned toward him. It already is contained, Captain. By me. Rachel's voice echoed one last time, protocol logged. Action pending confirmation upon landing. You have full authorization. Amara tapped her screen once. Then confirm it. The tablet beeped softly, a sound both quiet and final. Karen's face drained of color. She looked around the cabin at the passengers, filming at the captain, frozen at the woman she'd tried to humiliate, and realized she'd just become the headline of a very public lesson. That night, 30,000 feet above the Atlantic, justice didn't shout. It documented. The cabin lights dimmed further as if the plane itself knew to listen. No one spoke. No one even breathed too loudly. Amara stood, slowly, deliberately. Her white suit caught the cabin glow, calm and commanding against the blue night sky outside. Every eye followed her. Even the engines seemed to lower their roar. She turned to the captain first. Captain Pierce, she said evenly. I'm sure by now your corporate line has informed you who I am. He hesitated, his earpiece crackling faintly. Yes, ma'am. Confirmation just came through. Karen blinked, confirmation of what Amara turned toward her. I'm Dr. Amara Lewis, founder and chief executive officer of the Airline Group, the investment firm that owns 14% of Horizon Air. A ripple went through the cabin, gasps, whispers, disbelief turned awe. Karen took a step back, her voice barely a whisper. That's not possible. Amara's tone didn't change. You were right about one thing, she said softly. I wasn't supposed to be on this flight. I chose to be. Because before I invest another dollar in this airline, I needed to see how it treats people who don't fit your image of wealth. The woman in the gray blazer covered her mouth. Marcus's camera trembled in his hands. Passengers leaned forward, hungry for justice in real time. Elena's voice was barely audible. Dr. Lewis, I didn't know. Amara met her gaze gently. You listened when others didn't. That's enough. Karen's face flushed red, then pale. You tricked us. No, Amara corrected, you revealed yourselves. She took a step closer. You kicked open a bag that contained your own company's future. You insulted your investor. And you did it with the confidence of someone who thought no one was watching. She paused, glancing toward the phone still raised. But everyone was. The captain cleared his throat. Dr. Lewis, I take full responsibility for— Amara raised a hand. Not yet, Captain. Responsibility isn't spoken. It's shown. Rachel's voice echoed faintly through her earpiece. Contract authority confirmed. Horizon executives online. Amara nodded slightly. Put them on speaker. A brief tone filled the cabin, then a voice, corporate and distant. Dr. Lewis, we've been briefed. Please proceed. She turned to the stunned crew. Effective immediately, this incident will be logged as a breach of partnership ethics. Your management will receive full documentation upon landing. Her tone was steady, not vengeful, not emotional, just absolute. Brad lowered his eyes. Elena stepped back in silent respect. Karen trembled, clutching the seat back for balance. Her words barely formed. Please. I didn't mean. Amara's voice softened, but it didn't bend. You didn't have to mean it. You just had to stop yourself. And you didn't. The cabin was silent except for the hum of engines and the quiet click of Marcus's phone ending its recording. Amara looked around at every watching face, every open mouth, every witness who would tell this story tomorrow, and said the one line that would live beyond the flight. You called me a fraud on a plane I own. The silence that followed wasn't shock. It was the sound of reckoning. For a moment, the cabin existed in absolute stillness, like the air was holding its breath. Then the reality sank in. One by one, phones lifted again. Whispers turned to disbelief. Disbelief into applause, too cautious to feel real. Elena was the first to speak. Dr. Lewis, I don't even know what to say. Amara turned to her gently. Then don't. Just remember. Brad stepped back from the galley wall, his voice barely steady. She owns part of the airline. The woman in gray nodded, half smiling. She doesn't just own part of it. She owns the moment. Karen looked lost pale under the sterile lights. Her badge, once gleaming, now felt like a weight dragging her down. I'm so sorry, she stammered. It was just, I thought. Amara didn't respond. Apologies made under threat of consequence never landed right. The captain reappeared, face drawn tight between protocol and shame. Dr. Lewis, he said quietly, corporate just confirmed your directives. We've been advised to cooperate fully. Good, she said. Then start by documenting every interaction between your staff and me. Passenger testimony, video footage, all of it. I expect transparency tonight. Her tone wasn't anger. It was order executive, clear surgical. Marcus whispered to his phone again, live viewers climbing by the hundreds. She's commanding the whole flight like a boardroom. Comments streamed across his screen. Queen energy. This is justice in real time. She's teaching them without raising her voice. Across the aisle, a man in a navy suit stood up slowly. Dr. Lewis, he said, I'm a shareholder at Horizon. If this is what our crews are doing, I'll be voting with you next quarter. A murmur of agreement followed, growing louder until the entire first-class cabin buzzed with a strange mix of outrage and admiration. Karen's knees weakened. She sat on the jump seat near the galley, staring at nothing. Her authority, her safety had evaporated at 30,000 feet. Elena approached Amara cautiously. They'll fix this. I'll make sure they do. Amara met her eyes. You won't have to. I already have. Then she looked toward the passengers, her voice low but carrying through the air like a calm verdict. Every time someone like me is told they don't belong, the system loses a piece of its credibility. Tonight, Horizon Air just lost its last piece. The woman in gray began to clap. One person, then another. Soon the sound filled the cabin, not loud or celebratory, but steady, reverent. Brad looked at Karen. Guess the audit's over. Karen didn't reply. Her eyes glistened, reflecting the truth she'd spent the flight avoiding. Amara sat down again, folded her hands, and closed her eyes as if sealing a chapter. Her phone vibrated once Rachel's message glowing on screen. Press already picked up the story, trending globally. Amara smiled faintly. She hadn't come to make headlines, but sometimes justice wrote its own. At 30,000 feet, the cabin was finally quiet again. But this time, silence didn't feel like control. It felt like consequence. By the time the plane began its descent, the glow of London flickered beneath the clouds like a secret waiting to be told. But inside the cabin, the story had already written itself. Amara's tablet buzzed once more, Rachel's calm voice in her earpiece. Corporate board is online. They're requesting your final directive. Amara opened the file, the blue glow lighting her face. Every detail from the flight, the timestamps, the voices, the faces mirrored back at her in digital precision. It wasn't revenge. It was record-keeping. She spoke clearly, her tone a mix of authority and mercy. Effective immediately, Horizon Air's partnership with Airline Group is suspended pending full investigation. Freeze cooperative accounts. Revoke management access. Initiate diversity and equity audit across all flight divisions. Rachel's voice didn't waver. Confirmed. Processing now. Karen looked up from the jump seat, her voice trembling. You're ending the deal? On the spot, Amara met her eyes, not cruel but unflinching. I'm not ending it. I'm resetting it. The difference is, who gets to rebuild? Brad swallowed hard, staring at his shoes. Elena looked ready to cry. The captain exhaled softly. Doctor! Lewis, what happens to us? She looked at him. You start over. But this time with training that teaches respect before regulation. The message was meant for him, but the lesson was for everyone. Phones kept rolling. No one wanted to miss the moment when power changed altitude. Amara turned slightly toward Marcus. You're still streaming, he nodded, nervous. It's live. Millions watching. Good, she said. Then let them see how accountability looks when it's done right. Karen wiped her face, voice cracking. I never meant to humiliate you. Amara's gaze softened. Intent doesn't erase impact. You'll remember that next time you face someone you don't understand. Her tablet pinged again, confirmation alert. Across the network, Aryan servers had executed the suspension. Somewhere in Horizon Air's headquarters, an access badge turned red. Another, then another. Elena gasped quietly as her crew devices flashed. System restricted. Karen's name appeared on the screen. Access revoked. Amara closed the tablet. There. Now you understand consequence. The captain took a step closer. You didn't have to do this midair. Amara looked out the window, city lights scattering below like constellations of accountability. Yes, Captain, I did, because prejudice doesn't wait for landing. No one spoke. The hum of engines filled the silence like penance. Rachel's final message glowed on Amara's screen. Contract terminated. Public statement queued for release at 0800, Amara whispered. Send it. The plane banked gently toward Heathrow, the sky fading from black to bruised gray. Karen sat frozen, realizing she wasn't descending into London, she was descending into consequence. Amara, calm and collected, buckled her seatbelt, eyes steady on the horizon. Justice had landed early. The wheels touched the runway with a shudder that rolled through the cabin like an exhale. London fog blurred against the windows, the city below still half asleep, unaware that somewhere above it Justice had just rewritten a contract midair. The intercom clicked. Cabin crew prepared doors for arrival. But no one moved. Not yet. Everyone waited for her. Dr. Amara Lewis unbuckled her belt, gathered the same black carry-on that had started it all, and stood. The same suitcase, the same silence. Only this time, the silence belonged to her. Karen avoided her eyes, hands clasped, tight, trembling. Elena stepped forward, voice soft. Dr. Lewis, I hope someday you'll fly with us again. Amara paused, studying her. I will, she said, when flying feels equal for everyone on board. Her tone wasn't bitter. It was final, like a verdict written in calm ink. As she reached for her coat, Marcus approached cautiously, still holding his phone. Dr. Lewis. May I ask, why didn't you yell? Most people would have lost it. Amara smiled faintly. Because yelling changes moments. Calm changes systems. He nodded, eyes wide, as if hearing something sacred. Behind them, the captain called, Ma'am, the gate is ready. A company representative is waiting. I know, she replied. So is the world. Her phone buzzed again, Rachel's last update. Press statement released. Trending Hashon. Public response overwhelmingly positive. She typed a single reply. Let the footage speak. No interviews. Then she looked around the cabin one final time, the faces of passengers who'd entered as strangers but would leave as witnesses. I don't need headlines, she said softly. I just need lessons. Karen finally whispered, You could destroy us. Amara turned, meeting her gaze without malice. I don't destroy, Miss Harris. I expose. She stepped into the aisle, that quiet authority following her like gravity. Every phone angled toward her, but she didn't pose, didn't perform. She simply walked. Before exiting, she stopped by the front galley, the same spot where humiliation had begun, and said almost to herself, I don't need to film justice. I live it. Then she left, heels clicking against the jet bridge floor, steady as truth. Behind her, the cabin remained silent, a still life of reckoning and revelation. Through the small, oval window, dawn broke across the wing, painting the word Horizon in pale gold light. It didn't look like a brand anymore. It looked like a warning. Justice doesn't shout. It lands quietly, firmly, and right on time.